Hi everybody, I'm Kaveri. I'm a third year medical student in Bangalore, India. In this video, I'll be categorizing the smart study ways into 5 subtopics. Now, I have also made one more video on the 10 most effective study techniques with 100% results. Now, I think these 5 ways that I'll be talking to in the video combines most of those study techniques. That's why I truly believe that these 5 techniques are to the rescue always. Coming to the first one, it is advanced information processing. Jim Quick, one of the leading memory and learning experts, says that you can remember and recall information better when it undergoes a process called as advanced memory processing. Here what happens is that he says that when you study for long hours, that is passive reading, at the end of 6 to 8 hours, you won't be able to effectively recall all that you have studied in that time. It is just because you have not asked yourselves questions when you're studying. Active way of studying compared to passive way involves you asking a lot of questions to yourself when you're studying. Apart from the important questions that you note down while studying, that is like incorporating active recall into your study habit. That is, when you're reading a topic, you make a note of all the important questions. Along with that, you need to also make a list of questions like how, when, and why. I'll explain this to you with the help of an example. Let's take the simple example of photosynthesis. He says that when you're studying something like photosynthesis, you need to ask yourself a question like, how am I going to use this? That is the how part of the question. Now, photosynthesis, if you know that the sunlight is used by the plants to prepare food, when you have a plant in your home, you will know that it requires adequate amount of either direct or indirect sunlight for it to prepare food and for it to give flowers and fruits and vegetables. That is why you need to know the how part of it. Coming to when. When are you going to use it? One can be either when you buy a plant and keep it in your home, when you're farming, etc., or when you write your exam. That is when you're going to use it. Now, coming to the third part, after how, when, the third part is why. Why are you studying it? Why? What is the use of you studying it comes in this part. Now, coming to why you need to know about photosynthesis, it is for 2 reasons. One is as simple as the question might come in the exam, and if this question comes in the exam, because you have written that question and you know the why factor of it, you can answer better. And the second one is as always as simple, because you should know that the plant will survive and give you fruits and flowers and vegetables when there is enough amount of sunlight. That's why he says that always make sure to include the how, when and why factors when you are studying in the form of questions, so that you will remember all that for a longer amount of time. Now, coming to advanced information processing, because it actively involves you in studying, will help you on the longer run. This technique is very helpful when you're studying from bigger books. Studying from bigger books can be a lot more tiring and frustrating, but if you ask yourself a lot of questions when you study as to how, when and why, you will remember all the details for a long amount of time, and that is one of the main and key important tip or a technique that is involved in a smart study. You need to devote less time and remember for a long time so that you don't have to involve in studying again and again. The second technique is the Pareto Principle. Now, what is Pareto Principle? It is the 80-20 rule. It says that 80% of the questions in your exams comes from the 20% of the syllabus that you will study. So, it is always important for a person to focus on the 20% of the syllabus rather than focusing on the 80% of the syllabus, which has less important topics and will usually not come in the exam. Here, the basis or the key is to prioritize your studies. You need to know all the important topics. That is the 20% of the important topics which are on the upper hand and which will usually have questions for your boards or entrance. Both are going to focus on the topics which are more important. So, find out those topics which are more important and give more time to those topics. When you know that only a certain set of things or topics are more important, you can automatically give it a lot of time. You can re-revise, quiz yourself, do combined studies and make yourself thorough and perfect in those topics. So, if you know the 20% of the topics very thoroughly, it is going to give you 80% of the grade in your college, which is like really great, right? So, always focus on the 20% of the syllabus to get 80% of the marks. The third way is the most renowned Feyman's principle. What is Feyman's technique? It was devised by the famous physicist called as Richard Feyman when he was a student in Princeton. He says that when you're able to convey all that you have studied in simple language and concise thoughts to someone who has zero knowledge about whatever you're studying, it increases your learning process and makes you strong in the concept like anything. He says that after you take a topic and study about it, go and explain it to a 6-year-old child or someone who doesn't know anything about the topic that you have studied. So what happens is that when you explain to that person, he will automatically have lots of questions. He will be trying to find loopholes in your knowledge base. When he asks you certain questions, you come back and study about it and go back and explain. This way you will learn better, your thinking and processing will become stronger, and you're going to remember things to a longer amount of time. And as I already mentioned in one of my earlier videos, only when you're able to explain all that you have studied in concise thoughts, you can put up flowcharts to each and every question. You can't simply put up flowcharts. Flowchart is a simple version of the answer. Only if you can simplify answer in simple terms, you can put up a flowchart. So after you understand, make sure that you explain it to someone or explain it to yourself at the least, so that your learning becomes stronger and stronger. Now, I have spoken about Feyman's technique in detail with example in my video on popular study techniques with 100% results. I'll leave an iCard somewhere here. Click on it and watch it for more information because it is extremely helpful. The fourth way of remembering things better is by building memory palaces. Memory palaces were built by ancient Greeks, and it is a system of loci. Here you combine visual and spatial memory to remember and retain things for a longer amount of time. Memory palace works by associating things with certain other things. When you're studying something, it is always wise for you to associate it with something else. You can associate whatever you want to remember with the craziest of the craziest things possible, and that way you will never forget whatever you want to remember. Now, I have spoken even about memory palaces, how you can build a memory palace, how you can add things to it, how you can use it to remember various other chunks, and how to build various memory palaces, etc. with examples in my video. I will leave the iCard. As I told you, it is the same video about 10 popular study techniques. It is there in the iCard. Click on it and watch for more details. Memory palace will surely help you to remember larger chunks with little input. Building may take some time, but once you build a memory palace, everything becomes very, very easy. The final way is by using spaced repetition. Spaced repetition runs on the principle called as spacing effect. It says that when your study sessions are spaced out, that is when you give certain gap after studying once and when you revise it again, your learning becomes much more effective compared to reading at a time, that is mass reading. This is a perfect example why you should not be using passive reading. When you read passively, you will take long hours, say 6 to 10 hours to read, understand and to get familiarized with the topic. That is something called as mass presentation. On the other hand, spacing works with the principle called as spaced presentation. Here you read once. It doesn't mean that you have to understand it completely or you need to get familiarized or you need to understand in depth. You're just going to read and try to understand as much as possible. After spacing, that is after a certain time interval, when you read it again, it just gets added up. This way you will be spending less time in reading and you'll be doing some effective studies. When you learn something, all that you learn goes to short-term memory. And the information in the short-term memory undergoes a process called as exponential forgetting. That is, there is something called as a forgetting curve. Whatever you study goes like this. When you space your study sessions, after you study once, let it be 0. You go like this. Your forgetting curve goes like this. Let it be 1 day. After 1 day, you're going to revise it. So this forgetting curve will get refilled to 100% and it goes on again. The forgetting curve goes like this. But now it is slightly on the upper hand compared to the forgetting curve that was there earlier. And again, when you study after another 2 days, let it be the 3rd day, you're again refilling it. So it goes on, goes on, goes on. So let's imagine your study sessions are something like 0, 1, 3, 7 days, 14 days, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, etc. Eventually, your curve becomes a straight line, and that is when all your information has been encoded into the long-term memory and you don't forget whatever you're studying. So spacing your study is very, very, very important. That's pretty much everything that you need to know to study smartly and not to study hard, so that you can remember, retain and recall information for a long amount of time. Now I have spoken about Feyman's technique, spaced repetition and memory palace in my video on 10 most effective study techniques with 100% results. And as I told you, I have left an iCard here. I'll also leave the link in the description box below. Click on it because I have explained about these 3 ways in detail with examples in that video. And also there are so many other ways that you can supplement to these 5 techniques so that your learning will become much more effective. I have made so many other useful videos also. I'll leave the link of some of those in the description box below. Click on those, watch those videos and get benefited from those. Always remember that 1 or 2 hours of active reading is always better than 7 to 8 to 9 or 10 hours of passive reading. So always study smart and not hard. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe button, bell icon and share my videos with your friends and family who like content like this. And I'll be coming up with much more videos of educational value about medical life and so many vlogs. So stay tuned to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.